Alrighty, so today we're going to do lesson 79, number sense, multiplying fractions by fractions. So the first example they start with is here is 1/3 of a rectangle, right? Here is 1/3 of a rectangle. Got it, we all know that. If I take this and I cut it into 4, right? Here is 1/4 of 1/3, right? Remember, this was a third, and now we've only chosen 1/4 of it. So this is 1/4 of a third. How they've chosen to show us this is if I extended these lines and made it into all equal pieces, right? I would have 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12. 1/12. So 1/4 of 1/3 is 1/12. Okay? Let's have a look at the first question. Extend the horizontal lines in each picture, then write a fraction statement for each figure using the word of. So, they have a rectangle, cut into 4, and it's cut in half, and they have 1 colored in. So, this is 1/2 of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1/2 of 1/4. Because this whole thing was 1/4, right? But we only want to talk about this piece. So it's half of 1/4 of this shape, okay? Now, it is 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8, okay? That's the example that they gave you. I'll do the first one with you. It's cut into 5. Cut into 5. And then it's cut into 3. And they want to talk about this piece, okay? So this piece is 1/3, right? It's 1/3 of this, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's cut into fifths. So this was 1/5, but we only want to talk about this piece, okay? So this is 1/3 of 1/5. Extend the lines and cut them into equal pieces, and let's see what we have. One piece out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. 1/3 of 1/5 is 1/15, okay? Go answer the next two, come back for number 2. Rewrite the fraction statements from question 1 using the multiplication sign instead of the word of. So we've talked about this before. You can, when it says like half of 6, it actually means half times 6. Of in math usually means times. It's not going to mean anything other than times as far as a math process is concerned, but it could mean, you know, just of, like in language too. Okay, so the first one that they had the box cut into 4 and then cut in half with this one. In the first one, we said that was 1/2, because it's 1/2 of 1/4, because this is 1/4 of the box, equals 1/8, because there's 1 colored in out of 8. What they want you to do for question 2 is just take this sentence and write 1/2 times 1/4 equals 1/8. Okay? So you're just going to take the numbers from the first question, put them into the second question, but instead of writing of, you're going to put times. No big deal. Okay? Pause the video, come back for number 3. 3, write a multiplication statement for each figure. I can do that. All right, I got a box. It's cut into 4. Then they are showing us this. Okay, so what does this piece represent of this piece? If I showed you just that and asked you what the fraction would be, every one of you could tell me that's a third. 1 is colored in out of a third. But how many of these pieces do we have? Right? It's cut into 4. So it's 1/3 times, not going to use of this time, we're going to use times, of a quarter. Because this piece that we're talking about, that we took our third out of, it's 1/4, right? This is 1/3 of 1/4. Okay? Now, we're going to extend the lines. Forget that this is colored in, it's not supposed to be. And we have one box colored in out of 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12. 1/12. Okay? 1/3 of times 1/4 is 1/12. Okay? I'll do the last one with you. It's cut into 4, and then it's cut into 5. Okay, and one piece is colored in. What is this fraction of this piece? This is 1/5 times, how many pieces do we have? 4. So this piece is 1 out of 4. 1/5 times 1/4. Extend my lines. And I have one piece colored in out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. 1/20. Okay? So a 1/5 times a quarter is a 20th. Pay attention to these numbers and see if you can figure out where we're going with this. What is the pattern rule sort of a thing for this? All right, pause the video and come back for number 4. 4, write a formula for multiplying fractions that both have a numerator of 1. So that's what I was just telling you to pay attention to. 1 over A times 1 over B, that's a terrible A, by the way. 1 over A times 1 over B. We're trying to come up with a formula here. So what were we doing? When it was 1/4 times 1/5, it was 1/20. What is the relationship here across the bottom? 4 times 5 is 20. So here, it's A times B. So we're going to have 1 over A times B. Okay? That's our formula for multiplying fractions where the top number is 1 on both. That works when you have a 1 on top of both. Okay? Number 5, multiply a half times a 1/5. Well, we just figured out that we just multiply across the bottom. So 1 on top, 2 times 5 is 10. It's that simple. Okay? I'll skip down. A 6 times a 1/3. 1 stays on top. 6 times 3 is 18. 1/18. Okay? Super easy. Go answer number 5. Come back for number 6. Okay, look at your answers to question 5. You should have noticed that if the way the questions were laid out was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. These questions matched. So a half times a 1/5, and this was a 1/5 times a half. Now think about this. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Does it matter which number comes first? No, not at all. Would it matter for a fraction which number comes first? No, because when you're multiplying, it doesn't matter whether it's 2 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 2, or 1 group of a half and 1 group of a 1/5. Backwards or forwards, it's the same thing. So no, it does not matter which one comes first. Okay, let's do number 7. Oh, wait, we got to do an example first. All right, here is 2/3 of a rectangle. Got it. 1/3, 2/3. Here is 4/5. So they have cut 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I have cut it into 5. Now, they have colored in 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/5 here and 4/5 here. So these are 4/5 of 2/3, right? Because only the 2/3 was, only 2 of the 3 was colored in. 4/5 of 2/3. Extend the lines to find out how much is actually colored in. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. 8/15. Now, what I'd like you to notice is, remember when we did the last one, we multiplied straight across the bottom. 5, let's make this a times, just so it's a proper math statement. 5 times 3 is 15. Look at the top. 4 times 2 is 8. So it's super easy to remember because whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And we've talked about that 100 times, 100,000 times this year in math, okay? So you multiply across the top, you multiply across the bottom. So off we go to number 7. All right, oh my goodness, lots of lines on this one. So it's initially cut into 4, that's easy. All right, and then it's cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I don't know if I can do that equally. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, this one's pretty skinny, but it's not that bad. And then they have 6 colored in, okay? 6 colored in. So this fraction here is 2/7 of 1, 2, 3 out of 4 times 3/4, right? Now, we multiply across the top. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply across the bottom. 7 times 4 is 28. So let's make sure that we did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 28. 6 out of 28. Perfect. Okay? You guys go answer the rest of them. I feel like you can handle it. All right, number 8. Find each amount by multiplying the numerators and the denominators. Piece of cake. 2/3 times 4/7, right? 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 7 is 21. Easy. You don't need my help for that. Go answer the rest of the questions. Number 9. Write a formula for multiplying fractions by fractions. So they have A over B times C over D. Well, what did we do? When it was a half times 2/7, what did we do? This times this, which means we did A times C over this times this, which was B times D. A times C over B times D. Okay? All right, let's try 10. Multiply the fractions, reduce your answer to lowest terms. We always reduce to lowest terms, so that's not a problem. 2/3 times 3/5, right? That's A. Multiply across the top. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply across the bottom. 3 times 5 is 15. Now, 6 does not go into 15, so we can't do it that way. So we need a number that goes into both 6 and 15. I know that 3 goes into 6 and 15. How many times does 3 go into 6? 2. How many times does 3 go into 15? 5. And there is no number that goes into 2 and 5 other than 1. So this is lowest terms. Okay? 2/5. Now, I'll do one more, just because I'm so generous. We'll do the last one. 4/6 times 8/7. Okay, multiply across the top. 4 times 8 is 32. Do you see how important minute math is? Like, literally, if you have to stop and figure out what 4 times 8 is every time, it makes math so tedious. You've got to know these facts. Okay? 6 times 7 is 42. I don't know why, but I've always liked that fact. All right, now we got to reduce. 32 does not go into 42, so we can't do it that way. So, what number goes into 32 and 42? Well, not much goes into 42, but 6 and 7. and 6 and 7 don't go into 32, so I'm going to take the easy way out and just try 2, okay? So half of 32 would be 16, and half of 42 would be 21. And that's lowest terms. There's nothing that goes into both 16 and 21. All right? So, go finish the rest of the question. Pause the video. All right. Multiply the fractions. Number 11. What are we down to? Ooh, 2 more questions. Multiply the fractions. Reduce your answers to lowest terms. Yeah, we know. What do you notice? All right. 3/5 times 5/3. Now, what you should notice is that 3/5, 5/3. They've used the same fraction and flipped it. So, let's see. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3, still 15. Doesn't matter what number comes first. 15 does go into 15 one time. If I had a pizza, I cannot possibly cut this into 15 pieces, but let's pretend, okay? Let's just pretend it's 15 pieces. And I have all 15. What do I have? One whole pizza. 15 out of 15 is one whole pizza, right? All right. You do the rest, knowing that if you have any number over itself, that is equal to 1. It's one whole. 8 slices out of an 8-slice pizza is one whole pizza. Okay, pause the video. Come on back for the last questions. Question. Circle the fractions that are more than 2/3. Now, this one I was a little confused by because I felt like, am I just supposed to know what's more than 2/3? So if I were you, I would use your calculator for this one, okay? So they want to know, figure out what 2/3 is as a fraction, okay? So on your calculator, you're going to go 2 divided by 3 equals, and don't tell anyone, it's 0.667, okay? Or 0.67, okay? So now you need to do the same thing with the new fractions. So look at the first one. 5/7 is 5 divided by 7. Is it more than 0.67? Tell you right now it is. So that one's more. So you should circle that one. Go do the rest and circle the ones that are bigger than 0.667 or 67. Okay? And remember, when you're comparing decimals, you should have the same number of decimal places after the decimal. So if the number is 0.25 and you have 0.6, make it 60 so it's easy to see that 60 is more than 25, right? Now, on the other hand, if it was 0.2 and you had 0.60, get rid of the 0 so that you can see that 6 is more than 2. Compare apples to apples. If you have 2 decimal places, compare it to 2 decimal places. That way you won't be confused. Without calculating the products, circle the products that are greater than 1. So 2/3 times 3/2, right? So they said 2/3 times 3/2. Now you need to refer back to the question above to know which ones are worth more than 2/3, okay? So without calculating anything, we've got 3/2 in, which is more than 1, right? So we're looking for something bigger than 2/3. So any of those numbers that you circled in the question above times 3/2 will be greater than 2/3. For example, 5/7. We circled that in the question above. It is more, 5/7 was more than 2/3, right? Which means that when I multiply 5/7 times 3/2, it's going to be greater than 1. Pardon me. It will be greater than 1 because this equaled 1. So if this is bigger than this, it's going to be more than 1. Okay? So you need to go find which ones, by looking at them without calculating them, which ones are more than 1. Okay, pause the video, go do that. In the last piece, verify your answers by actually calculating the products. Easy breezy. Okay, so 5/7 times 3/2. Multiply right across the top. 5 times 3 is 15. 7 times 2 is 14. 15/14. If I was drawing pizzas and I had one cut into 14 pieces, I would also have one with one tiny piece cut out of it. So I would have one pizza with one extra piece. If I was reducing this, I would say 14 goes into 15 how many times? One time with what left over? 1/14. Okay? I'll do one more with you just to make sure you got it. Let's try 3/5, the third one. 3/5 times 3/2. Okay. Across the top, 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10. 9/10. Is that a whole pizza? If I have a 10-slice pizza and I have 9 slices, do I have a whole pizza? Nope. So that's less than 1, right? 9/10 of a pizza is not a whole pizza. It's less than a whole pizza. All right? Go answer the last two and you're done for today.